Welcome to this week's video tutorial with the Porsche 911 GT3 Cup car at Brands Hatch Indy circuit for virtualracingschool.com. As usual, I'll be looking at a race fuel lap as driven by Rens Broekman in the fault morning weather. I'll play the lap through first in full before then going into the analysis on VRS. Okay, so that was a 44.711. Okay, so as usual we're starting on the VRS website. We're on the data packs page and we're going to choose the Porsche iRacing Cup data pack as driven by Rens Broekman. So week 4 this time, Brands Hatch Indy circuit, just a short lap, and you can download the lap files here in the session details page as well as the replay and the setup. So we're going to click on Learn Track, loads the analyzer, plays the video through. Just going to pause that and load the full track if that's not selected. And you've got a steering trace here on the top left and a speed trace throughout the lap. These are and the brake and throttle trace down the bottom right, and some live inputs here on the bottom left. I'm going to start things off at sector 1, which is the run from the start finish line to the braking zone for turn 1. Now at the Brands Hatch circuit, the start finish line is quite late along the straight, so quite shortly after crossing the start finish line you're thinking about braking for turn 1, which if we take it externally here we can see that that's going to be just after this 150 marker on the left. So we're at the edge of the circuit, but because the circuit's curved on the approach, we can't afford to brake too hard because we're still turning in slightly just to follow this outside edge. Just going to slow this down. So reach peak brake pressure about here, and then the circuit tightens up slightly. So at this point Rens starts to turn in. The grass has just ended here on the left as well, if you need a reference, and it's a blind apex of course down the hill, but you're looking for your apex curb on the inside where you want to get nice and close to that. As the circuit falls away and you lose a bit of grip, just ease off those brakes, but make sure you are holding them all the way into the apex, spotting that curb and getting nice and close to it where you'll want to be picking up the throttle nice and quickly to the point of traction limit. So Rens is really nice and tight to that curb there, which allows him to pick up the throttle nice and early, and at the bottom of the circuit the car will reach a lot of compression and you'll get an extra amount of grip, which is when Rens is able to get to full throttle, in fact slightly before the car compresses, in anticipation that the car will really grip up. So you've got some extra runoff here, quite a wide curb at the bottom. Take advantage of that, allow the car to run out using all of the circuit there. Just be careful not to drop any wheels off onto the gravel. Up the hill in towards Druids hairpin. The barrier on the left just ends. Just take it back there slightly. You've got a green and yellow marked barrier here. Just after that, just before this red marked Armco barrier, you want to be braking into Druids. So we get to sector 3 for that. Braking nice and hard, it's uphill so you have lots of grip, you can afford to brake really hard into this one, at least initially, but you want to turn in fairly soon, fairly early turn in, so you have a nice tight apex, and the apex is quite a long one, or at least you need to stay tight to the inside curb for a long time. Keep the car right down to a slow speed in the middle of the corner. Keep those brakes on all the way around so that the car rotates nicely and you're able to hug that curb all the way around. It's very easy to carry too much speed in here and to push wide, so you're not able to sort of hug the curb through, so that you're able to pick up the throttle quite early on, which Rens does. He's roughly halfway around the corner when he's picking up the throttle, but the car's rotating really nicely for him there, and he's able to reach full throttle just after leaving that inside curb, where he's opening the car up using all of the circuit on the exit. Not quite using the exit curb there, which is nice to have something in reserve, and also you don't want to do that anyway, because it will compromise your entry in towards Graham Hill, corner down the hill, which you're going to be braking sort of in the middle of the circuit. You don't want to brake too late for this one, which is quite easy to do, so well before the 50 marker there. But because the circuit's already sort of turning left at this point, well before the apex, of course, well before the corner's really started, you're having to turn the car to keep it from sort of running too wide on the entry, because our sort of trajectory at this point is to take us to the outside of the circuit. So because of that, we can't afford to brake too hard, so Rens is braking fairly gently. Does reach 60% there briefly, before then bleeding off again as he's turning into the corner from the edge of the circuit now, just dipping his wheels off onto the I think there's a small area of grasscrete there which you can take advantage of. Hold those brakes into the apex and pick up the throttle. Rens is very early on throttle here. He actually picks it up just before the apex there, and onto that inside curb. Not too much, don't drop any wheels over onto the grass, but open the car up at this point. There is quite a wide area of grasscrete beyond the exit curb on the right, which you can really take advantage of. So open the car up in anticipation of oversteer, and as you get onto that curb, you should be able to reach full throttle with the car nice and straight by that point. So all four wheels over the curb onto the grasscrete, back onto the tarmac when that ends, and then taking a nice wide approach towards Surtees, which is where the circuit cuts through to the right-hander to finish off the Indy circuit. So just a short lap this one. So we'll go to sector 5, so shortly before the 50 marker here. Again, we're really wide on entry. In fact, we're using this grasscrete again on the entry, and braking briefly, not too hard either, because we're having to turn in at the same time as braking, so can't take advantage of too much braking grip if you do want to turn in, and it's quite an early turn in. You can take advantage of a lot of curb through here, and you can see in fact that Rens is up onto the back into the throttle before he's even reached the curb. So he's modulating the throttle using a good amount of curb there, and then as he's off the curb and the car settles on the exit, he's briefly able to reach full throttle before then the sort of the long right-hander of Clearways really begins now, before you've reached this first curb on the right, which pretty much starts the braking zone. So we're having to follow the circuit round to the right at this point. So again, Rens can't brake very hard whilst doing this, so he's able to hold that line, and ideally, because we're still slowing the car down at this point, don't allow the car to run sort of too far wide of the middle of the circuit. So we're just wide of the middle of the circuit, but we're not over to the edge, and the reason for that is we want to get back tight quite soon for the apex of Clearways, which is quite a flat curb, so you can get the car up onto that curb, and you should be able to pick up the throttle as you are doing so. So we're right up onto that curb at that point, and Rens has picked up the throttle, but then the circuit kind of crests at this point. We're going uphill at the moment, and then the circuit will crest and then fall back downhill for the exit. And this is all kind of happening as Rens is trying to get back onto the throttle. So this is why he's having to be very, very patient with the throttle on the exit, losing a bit of grip as we're trying to feed the throttle on, and simultaneously opening the steering up for the best possible exit, and taking advantage of the full width of the circuit for the exit as well. So that's very much about timing your application to full throttle there, so you can take full advantage of the circuit without dropping any wheels into the grass here on the exit through Clark Curve. And this is where you want to hug the pit wall as you go through the fast right-hander down the start-finish straight. This is the lowest part of the circuit, so you want to keep nice and tight to that wall until the start-finish straight opens up, and then you want to take a diagonal path to finish the lap towards the braking zone for turn 1. As ever, you can find qualifying and race setups, telemetry and replays over at virtualracingschool.com, where you can also book one-on-one tuition with myself and top drivers from the likes of Coanda Simsport. Good luck for this week, and feel free to post any questions or comments below. Thanks for watching.